Welcome back, YouTube. What's going on, man?
Same old shit, man.
Yeah,
Just
mate.
in lockdown.
Yeah.
Enjoying it.
Yeah, that's it. Afghanistan.
Yeah, fucking Afghanistan. The Berejiklistan.
Yeah.
There's that as well, yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Your state is starting to look like Victoria in the first lockdown we had.
Yeah. I think it's going to get worse too.
You reckon?
Yeah, fucking oath. How long were you in lockdown for? Just out of curiosity.
6 or 7 months, I think. And then we went down to, I think it was 6 months of stage 4. And then it was like stage 3 for a month or 2. And yeah.
So I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah.
I was too busy in at that time, New South Wales was COVID free and we're fucking just doing everything and anything.
I know. Yeah. Oh, enough about that.
It's my turn now.
Yeah, mate. Sharing is caring. So today we're running through just, exercises which I believe that you need, or at least variations that you need.
Like effective, very effective exercises. Bang for your buck, mate.
Yeah. So obviously there's many ways you can train for arm wrestling. Above all, table time is the most important thing. But secondary to that, these exercises or variations of these exercises are crucial. But yeah, as long as you're training all of the ranges of motion of the wrist, of the elbow joint, of the shoulder, you're on your way to be a good arm wrestler. But there's definitely ways to really make it more efficient. So
absolutely, mate.
Let's jump in and alrighty.
Single arm preachers.
Yeah, Matt. So take us through what is going on here.
Now, I like keeping my exercises basic. Now, I believe the bicep is probably the easiest thing to make stronger.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And this is one of the best ways of doing it. Now, you can see I'm not going all the way down. Yeah. I'm just going past 90 degrees because you don't want your arm going further than that in an arm wrestle.
Yeah. So at gym, I've got a Scott's bench. So pretty much the vertical side of that bench.
Yeah. I mean, you can literally switch around.
Yeah. But for preacher curls, you never want to be doing full range of motion. I think it's pretty dangerous at that bottom end of the movement anyway, when you're doing it. If you want to do full range of motion, just do free weights standing.
That's correct.
But yeah, so I think it's good with this because you can kind of tuck your elbow in and emulate having a bit more shoulder and lat activation.
So the reason I do them like that as opposed to the vertical side is I can lean sort of to the right on the right arm and feel the tension through my elbow.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of not relaxes it, but it sort of conditions it as well.
Yeah.
And it feels good.
Yeah. I mean, look, especially if you're a beginner arm wrestler, you shouldn't be going too heavy on these either.
No, I didn't start on 50s. No fucking chance.
No, but just keeping your rep range up. So, for example, I don't really go under that 6 rep max range. So if I can't do 6 reps of a certain weight, I'm not going to do it, especially in this.
Yeah. And also on top of that, I believe hypertrophy. So we're talking, let's talk 6 to 12 and above reps. That is your range. Yeah. You shouldn't go less than that.
Yeah, 100%. Alrighty. So next exercise.
Another bicep exercise. Pyramids. Now I got inspiration from the Georgian team. So specifically Levan, Ericli, when they train, they do these exercises. And this it's 100% back pressure related on the table.
Yeah.
So I believe this has increased my back pressure.
Okay.
Heaps.
Yeah. So with this variation, are you tucking your elbow into your body or are you kind of letting it hover?
No, tucking it right in. It's dug into my hip, basically. And I try to mimic the same feeling on a table.
Yeah. So I know this exercise was part of my program that Coach Ray gave me.
Okay.
But the condition of this exercise was to hover your elbow. So don't plant it. But, any variation similar to this is going to be, really beneficial for your back pressure, I think.
Yeah.
Or your post, I should say. Because it's just it's just over your hand. It's not attacking your pronation or wrist riser or anything.
Well, I mean, you can a variation of that is you can just, instead of putting your hand through the wrap or the band here, You literally just fold it over the back of your hand and hold it with your thumb, and it's attacking your pronator. You're constantly fighting that rotation.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about an arm wrestling match, you're starting in a pronated position, in a hammer curl wrist position. So you need to be strong here. And if you're not strong here, chances are you're not going to be too strong center of the table, at least in terms of lat drag and back pressure or posting. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a presser or a hooker or whatever, and you want to change completely. I think it's really good to establish that baseline center of the table strength.
Mate, that's where matches are made. That's on the table.
If you can control the center of the table through this area, then you can transition into whatever you want. And that's even more impressive. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Single arm barbell wrist curls.
Yep.
I got inspired by Lachlan there doing some dumb fucking weight. I can't remember what it was, like 60 or 70 kilos for reps.
Yep.
Yeah, I love these. They feel great on the wrist. They feel almost like a flat wristed position, center table, and someone's just really attacking your fingers and just really trying to turn you palm up.
Okay. Yeah, I think as well, because I do this with 2 hands at a time.
But that's a good variation too.
But yeah, I'd honestly say specific time wrestling, this is more efficient because you are going to be activating the stabilizers of your wrist in terms of supination and pronation.
That's right, keeping the weight balanced.
Yeah. So, okay, that's actually really good. So when you're doing this, are you doing pretty much high reps for this, or are you going
8 reps or and above? 8 reps and above. I try not to go less than that, because going heavy on these, you can really fucking damage something. You can really damage something, and that's not good.
I mean, there's quite a few people that I've tried to get people to do, and they just can't because it hurts their wrists too much. So start really light if you are going to do this one, and get used to the weight itself, because especially if you're new to it, it'll feel very foreign. And then when you start doing it, you're going to find that if you don't perfectly balance the weight from the beginning, it'll throw your whole set off. And you don't want the weight tipping to one side and potentially tearing a muscle, whether it be
that's right. Because you'll hyperextend.
Because once the weight's off balance, it's really hard to come back from. So yeah, that's good.
I love it.
Oh, another.
Freestanding hammer curls.
Yep.
Can't go fucking wrong with this. Basic, easy, simple. Great release as well after doing, like, say, for example, those preacher curls that we spoke about earlier. Great release.
So pretty much, full range of motion. Slow and controlled.
Absolutely. And heavy too.
Heavy. Now, we've seen Wagner do a lot of these with some stupid weight.
But the form.
So, above all, when you're in the gym, try to keep your form as good as you can. Look, when you're on the arm wrestling table, you're going to be, getting close to a 1 rep max, depending on who you're versing. So there's no need to really throw weight around uncontrollably while you're in the gym.
That's right.
The way that I think of it is, all of my gym movements and exercises are getting me stronger. And then on the table, I'm refining and translating all of those. So, you can be an ugly arm wrestler on the table, but I wouldn't recommend it in the gym.
Strict military press.
I know you really rate these.
I rate these because shoulder health is, if you can keep your shoulders healthy, you can keep your career going for as long as possible.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and I know personally, I've suffered from shoulder issues, so subacromial impingement, which has made any flexion or overhead movements really, really painful. And it's because my internal rotators of my rotator cuff were so strong that the external rotators became weak and inflamed. So once I fixed that up, I was able to get back into overhead pressing, and I really think, especially with a close, like a narrow grip, that it translates really well to pressing. So that's good.
And not only that, like side pressure as well. You can it enhances it. It really fucking does.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
nice. Alrighty, so let's get into a few of my favorites.
Yeah, back
So
weighted pull-ups. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
so
good.
I'm doing a neutral grip, so kind of like a hammer curl position with fat grips, and I'm doing. You can do variations of full range of motion, partial range of motion, but outside of full range of motion, I'm really stressing here that pausing at that 90-degree parallel point and at the top of the lift is so important, and it's really helped me ascertain obtain a better center of the table strength. So you can see I'm pausing at each interval.
Yeah, and you've got your thumb under as well, which is
Yeah,
interesting. I usually see everyone thumb over. I really try to keep those fingers in.
I mean, for example, when I'm doing barbell wrist curls like you were doing before,
Yeah.
I'll do thumb under.
Yep.
But the way that I see it is, in a match, generally speaking, your thumb positioning is going to be similar to a thumb over grip.
Yeah.
So when you are gripping like this and pushing your thumb into flexion, it actually, or capping your thumb, for example, in a match, it's going to decrease your output of wrist flexion and finger strength.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you get strong here, but you're not going to lose, your wrist.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So if you've ever noticed in an arm wrestle, when you're training in a hook, thumb under, you can find that your wrist is just stronger.
Yeah.
As soon as you start capping your thumb, whether with a bigger handle, you really lose that wrist stability and strength. So it doesn't matter what you do, but I recommend thumb under, thumb over, train all variations of hand positioning.
Yeah.
So yeah, arm wrestling's, it's not one dimensional. You need to be strong everywhere. So yeah. Yeah, so this here is probably my favorite exercise at the moment. So supinated side press. So I'm resetting after each rep. I'm working my side pressure with with emphasis onto my supinator. So the idea of it here is to internally rotate slightly and emulate side pressure through slight supination. Now, I'm not trying to completely supinate like that because I'm trying to get better at keeping a neutral or pronated hand position in a match or in training. That way you can dictate center of the table, you can bring them onto your side and still have that inside pressure. So if you watched that match, which I know you did, but if anyone watched the match of Porkchop versus Ian Carnegie, you'll notice that he's doing, Porkchop's doing a really similar movement. He's gaining center of the table, he's keeping somewhat a neutral to pronated hand grip, and he's getting Ian onto his side of the table, and then from there he can just drop his body down through a press or side. So this is where you're going to get really, really strong, because it's all good and well that you can get strong, when you're in your best position, or you can feel your strongest when you're in your position. But center of the table, no pressure. So that's why I'm trying to reset there.
Yeah, so I've versed people with a hell of a lot of side pressure like this in a setup, and it, early on, it scared the fuck out of me. So it's good to have.
Yeah. And just to stress this, like, no one exercise is going to make you great at arm wrestling. There's a lot of angles and exercises you need to do to become proficient, but depending on your weaknesses and strengths, this is a really good addition to your program, and I would really recommend. But it's one exercise you don't want to go heavy on, especially in the early days, because it's quite detrimental to your elbow and shoulder health.
Yeah.
So just be conservative with it and know your limit. Besides, side pressure should be trained, as far, in my opinion, as a volume and not as a one rep max effort. So yeah,
absolutely.
Another variation of a side pressure here. So I'm doing a high attachment spinning handle, hook drag with side or internal rotation, and then I'm also wrapping a band around my thumb to challenge my pronation. So this kind of complements the last exercise when I said that I was trying to stay neutral or pronated, but still internally rotate and use side pressure effectively. So I think these two exercises tie in really well. So yeah, there's different ways you can do it. You can do it with or without wrist flexion. You can, shorten the range of motion. You can increase it. You can change to a low attachment. You can, do whatever you want with it. But I think in this particular instance, having two different areas that are attacking you. So in this case, wrist flexion or, the handle, and then the band. It's getting you arm wrestling. It's getting you used to multiple angles, which doesn't matter who you arm wrestle.
That's mad.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter who you arm wrestle. You're always going to be getting attacked from different angles, and you need to get used to combining these different movements. So you might be good at isolating one movement and another movement, but combining them, that's when people start to struggle. And that's where I think the key to translating movements to the arm wrestling table is really, really important. So
yeah.
I've got to thank you for this one. So hovering seated curls. I used to just do regular seated curls.
Where you'd land it back on your legs, right?
Yeah, but thanks to my boy fucking Papa Muzz, now I'm just hovering so that there's always that tension.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to emulate, I'm sure like you were doing, was emulating catching someone in that defensive or losing position.
That's right.
Which is at that lower portion of the lift. And then, so I'm not going ridiculously heavy here. Form's not perfect, but it's not bad. It's not too fast. I'm not swinging. There's a bit of movement of my back, but
mate, no, that's fine. As long as your ass doesn't leave the bench, you're okay.
Yeah. And then of course, pronation. There's so many ways to do pronation.
Yeah, you can't have enough pronation.
And I understand a lot of people won't have access to this handle in particular. Yeah. But as long as you have, and I'll point out the difference here, which I'm sure you can see already, is in this lift, I've got a judo belt, but in the previous lift, I had a big handle to hold onto. So your isolated pronation might be really strong, but are you also used to holding onto a big hand or having to contain someone while pronating? And this is what separates, average top rollers to really, really good top rollers.
I found a really good top roller would top roll from like a supinated or inside position for complete control.
Yeah. So this position, I pretty much completely supinate.
Yep.
You can do obviously full range of motion, partial range of motion. I think both have their, their advantages. So this one, if I was to stop at the pretty much 90-degree mark here, that'll get me used to really stopping someone early in the match without having to extend much. So if I can keep my pronation and stay tight, obviously that's exactly what you want in an arm wrestle, but you also need to get used to the whole range of that. So like you said, being able to extend your arms, supinate, and then pronate from there. So yeah. Look at me go.
Yeah, fucking
just
looking good there, mate.
So much weight. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I rate these. For sure.
So shout out to my boy Seps.
Fuck yeah.
And then we're getting into strengthening up our lat drag, our back pressure. So bent over rows, you cannot go wrong. This is just a baseline, simple and effective exercise that will genuinely make you stronger.
Yeah.
If you want to make it more specific, you can actually wrist curl the dumbbell.
So you can wrist curl as it comes up.
Yep.
Also add a fat grip.
Yeah, 100%.
Make it a bit spicy.
And if you do add a fat grip and try to cup in or flex your wrist in this movement, it'll actually make it harder to keep your elbow close to your body. So that's really, really good practice for when you wrist curl and drag straight back in an arm wrestle. Some people, if their wrist isn't strong enough, they'll kind of bring their elbow around to compensate and gain it. But I'm telling you, if you add in wrist flexion here and keep your elbow tight, it'll really make a difference on the table, in my opinion. So yeah, I went pretty, it wasn't long ago that I went pretty stupid heavy just to see.
Was it 60 kilos?
No,
I saw the video.
I did 90. So it was like a once off. Like I've never Because the thing is, like,
But it came up really well.
not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. I mean,
Like, even the form police wouldn't fucking detain you. Like, that was good. That was fucking pretty good.
I'd get out on bail.
You get out with just like a fine and 2 points off your driver's license, mate.
Yeah, that's it. The golden point rule. All right. And then last variation of back pressure or lat drag. I've got the Mazurenko centric handle here. You can use any form of spinning handle or any handle you want for that matter.
Is the eccentric handle the one where there's like a little ridge for your fingertips?
Yeah.
And you sort of sit around and it pops outward?
Yeah, correct.
Like that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I actually snapped mine the other day, or a few weeks ago.
Not surprised. You're doing the fucking stupid weight.
No, but the funny thing was, so that bit where your thumb goes on, the thumb gripper or the grip,
where it's got like a little notch there for your thumb. Yeah.
That snapped off with 30 pounds of weight. So nothing heavy. So clearly I'm going heavier here, no issues, but yeah.
Okay. I wonder if anyone else has had that problem with Mazurenko equipment. I've had straps. I've had about 6 straps break. Okay. Over the course of my 5 years. So,
as in, when you say straps, do you mean actual arm wrestling straps or
actual arm wrestling straps? Yeah, the buckles have fucking come off every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with this, with this, so it's a single arm, row, virtually touching your chest. You can add pauses in once you reach that point where it's touching your chest. Play around. You can do it with wrist flexion with a neutral wrist. I recommend a flat wrist, neutral wrist, with a spinning handle. So it's attacking your hand, but it's very similar to that start of a match.
It's that tabletop strength. This is crucial to like shutting down top rollers. Correct. Crucial.
Because it doesn't matter how strong your back pressure is or your lat drag. If your wrist goes, you're screwed. So this, in my opinion, is a really good way to strengthen up those deficits in your wrist or your fingers. Yeah. So just think of it, the bigger the handle is, the more it's going to attack your fingers. The smaller the handle, the more it's going to attack your wrists. So I advise you to use a small variation of a small handle and a large handle, so you can get used to arm wrestling someone who can attack your fingers, or a smaller hand who's maybe going to attack your wrist more. So either way, it's really important to train every way possible. So so obviously, like we said before, there's so many ways you can train arm wrestling, and people can debate till the cows come home which is the most efficient way, what's more effective. The best you can really do is go off your own experiences. There's literature out there about how we should train. For example, if you're trying to heal tendons, the literature says that isometric movements of tendons are really good for tendon health. There's so many different methods out there, though, that you just need to find your niche. Whatever works for you, stick to it. But
absolutely.
Don't be afraid to go out of your scope and try different methods, because you never know if you could be training better. Yeah. So let us know in the comments, what are your favorite exercises and what do you think is the most efficient way to train for arm wrestling? Is it more arm wrestling on the table and less gym time? Is it more gym time and less arm wrestling?
Is it a balance of both?
Correct. So you've got John Brzenk, who did some wrist curls. Apart from that, it was just table time. Yeah. And then you've got
Richard Lubkes, who literally just went to comps and trained at the gym 6 days a week.
Yeah. So look, there's no
right way. There's no right way of training.
Yeah.
There's no wrong way of training. My bad.
Yeah. So look, these are just some of the exercises we do and we love. If you like what you saw and want us to upload more exercises, let us know.
We can do advanced exercises. I mean, you can let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Do you want more basic exercises?
I'm a basic sort of guy, so I train most at the gym. When they're open, of course. So.
But that's the thing. There's certain exercises that would be better fitted for a beginner, intermediate, and then a pro. But it's funny, there's certain exercises that I still do from when I first started. And then there's certain exercises which, I've recently taken on to my program. So, like I said, there's so many ways you can train. And obviously over the years, I've cut out a lot. Exercises I used to think were good, and now I think they're just shit.
Good. It's all trial and error, man. I think
Exactly.
you did the right thing.
Yeah. So let us know. Would you like to see our favorite or most recommended exercises for beginners, or do you want us to see or talk about more advanced techniques? Let us know in the comments. But yeah. One other thing, and it's not too relevant to gym, but I see it a lot when I train at Hop or at arm wrestling.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people refusing to go into the straps in training, which I think is the worst thing you can ever do. Like,
really?
Yeah. Straps is where the match is most likely going to end up. I would say arguably 70% of the time the match ends up in straps.
Yep.
There are certain pullers out there who will intentionally slip off the go to get to the straps. A lot of people do it. There's, the people that try to hold on and end matches out of straps. You need to train both. There's no other way around it. If you are too scared or hesitant to train in one, factor, or, whether it be straps or out of straps, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Train everything and you cannot go wrong. It's a jack of all trades kind of sport.
It is, yeah. And the better you are at a lot of things, the better arm wrestler you're going to be, because the match will never just stay in your favorite position. It just won't. Like if you're a flop wrist presser, you're not going to get it all the time. If you're just a hooker, you're probably going to damage yourself, and it's never just going to be, the matches are never going to be just a hook.
Yeah. So 100%.
You have to train everything.
I know, man. And it's hard because, your body responds to certain movements better depending on your weaknesses and strengths. Yeah. So if you feel like you're ever hitting a plateau, for example, just stop training your strengths and only train your weaknesses.
That's right.
I guarantee you your strengths will become stronger once you've alleviated and filled in those holes in your weaknesses.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Always train your weaknesses. It just makes you a complete arm wrestler. Yeah. Also, if you're injured, train around the injury. Don't stop training ever.
Yeah.
100%. That's my philosophy, and that's how it's been for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Like injured wrist. I've got an injured wrist. I can't even cut 10 kilos at this point in time, but I'm focusing all heavy on back pressure.
Yeah. For example, my field's osteopathy, and what we're learning is, and what's considered, very, very important in how we treat is keeping the body moving in a lot of different dysfunctions. Very, obviously, very rarely, I should say, are we telling the patient, don't move, don't do anything. Unless you've just come out of surgery and you need to be on bed rest, sure. But for a lot of different kinds of pains, injuries, dysfunctions, we're trying to promote movement, increase blood flow, and a lot of bodily functions that are crucial to healing the body. So arm wrestling is no different. Unless you've really, really hurt yourself and have been told by a medical practitioner or expert otherwise, you should generally keep moving, even if it's just walking. Like, you need to keep the body moving. So
100%.
So I reckon we wrap up there.
Fucking nice.
I'm pretty excited. I'll have to go back and watch Aussie Arm Wrestlers live stream. He's just had 2 random guests on.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. You might not.
I heard about that.
You might.
Fucking he had like a live Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
Alrighty. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you later.
See yous.